Hello, and we are back with another episode of Caged In Podcast. Last week, me and Joe talked about World Trade Center, and it was a time, I'll tell you that. But this week, I'm joined by his fellow podcast compadre and resident. I don't know. What are you the resident, Bob? Yeah.
Resident Bob, I suppose.
Yeah. It's my good old mate Bob back again. Was this the third time you've been on the podcast?
Third time. Yeah, my lucky number.
Third time lucky. Hopefully with this one. We're obviously today talking about the 2007 film Ghost Rider. As always, Bob, you know the drill by now. Had you seen this film before today?
I'm very pleased to say I watched it in the cinema. I think I don't know what year. What year did you say this was?
2007.
2007. Oh God, I can't even do the math right now. But I was a young man. So that's almost 10 years ago, right?
Yeah,
so I must have been 14 or something. Oh no. How old am I? 26. What does that make it?
15, I reckon. Yeah, it was 11 years ago.
And I'm really struggling to do maths trying to work this out. But yeah, I remember in the cinema, not really digging it that much.
I remember being really excited before this film coming out, seeing like the ad campaigns and the trailers, thinking this looks like a piece of me. Like I don't know if I had like a predilection to liking Cage already, subconsciously.
Or leather and motorcycles. And
but there's I don't know, maybe it's predestined in me to do this podcast because. Yeah. There's actually a really weird link between me and this film specifically.
Okay.
My first ever email address was JohnnyBlaze_7.
My God.
Because obviously...
2007?
Well, no, it wasn't 2000. It was before then, but I guess...
Wait, you were 7 years old when you got your first email address?
No. I think it is down to the fact that, 7 people before
young
me.
Entrepreneur.
7 people before me already had the idea.
Oh, of course.
For Johnny Blaze.
So you were the 7th Johnny Blaze.
I was the 7th Johnny Blaze. Yeah. But it's weird because I was never a fan of Ghost Rider as a kid, like the comics and stuff like that. I actually got the name through being a fan of the Wu-Tang and specifically Method Man. And I remember vividly on one of his albums, I think it's Tikau 2000 Judgment Day, there's a skit on it done by Chris Rock, and he's going through all the aliases of Method Man. He's like, here he is, the Tikalian Stallion, and he's like Johnny Blaze, because I think the Wu-Tang take on the personas of Marvel characters, so you'll have Ghostface Killer will call himself Tony Stark,
of course,
and stuff. Yeah. So it's just I find it peculiar that all these years later, I must have set up that email address when I was, 11, 10, 12 years old. And all these years later, here I am, sat in a living room in Brighton, talking about Ghost Rider.
Consummating your vows with Johnny Blaze.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, in the cinema, you didn't dig this.
I don't think I dug it, no. I think I had sort of... Should I tell you, just before we even watch it, because it's good to get out of the way, actually, my main problem with the film is I don't like the way his skull looks. I honestly think skulls look scarier without angry eyes. They look scarier when they just have hollow holes. I don't know why they thought they had to make his skull different, or maybe it makes it more approachable in some way.
Well, one of the things, because I have actually watched this film, not like I watched it in the cinema, I watched this film 3 days ago because I was supposed to record this on Friday, and it fell through for no bad reasons, but it fell through, and I found myself going, oh fuck, who's a reliable good old man to speak to? Bob. He'll love to talk about Ghost Rider. But so I watched it the other day, and I actually did a little bit of research after watching it.
Okay.
And the skull, this is the point I was making.
Yeah, okay.
I just felt like I'd do that little bit of backstory for the listeners. The skull is actually based on a 3D sculpture of what Cage's actual skull looks like. They like obviously took X-rays and stuff like that, and like the skull you see on screen.
He doesn't have angry eyes under his skin, though.
I don't know. I imagine the rage he shows in all of his films. That there must be some like fiery behemoth underneath all that skin and flesh.
I wonder about this first film, but I remember hearing that in the second film, even though his head was constantly CGI'd on, he would wear skull face paint throughout the thing that he would apply himself, I believe, throughout the duration of the shoot. So he'd always look like Ghost Rider, even though they're just CGIing his head.
Wow.
And he also had a bit of a pyramid sewed into his leather jacket, a literal piece of a pyramid.
That is fascinating stuff. Wow, this is you're like the IMDb trivia in a small mustachioed man. It's lovely. So enough of the waffle at the beginning. Obviously, we've set the stakes that me and Bob probably know diddly squat when it comes to Ghost Rider.
Yeah,
I know nothing about the comic books. I was never a fan. I've never really got into any comic books. One thing I do want to talk about as well is obviously like today is when we're recording this. It's the 5th of March. It is the day after the Oscars have happened, and I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to look back to 22 years ago when Nicolas Cage won the Oscar for Best Actor for Leaving Las Vegas.
An absolute don.
But how all these years passed, like flash forward 11 years later to Ghost Rider, and again for a little bit of research found out he was nominated for a Razzie for the worst actor for his performance in Ghost Rider. So I feel like that is a talisman of what we are expecting to see.
How many years between Leaving Las Vegas and
11.
11.
And what a polarising difference in films they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And before we get into it, there's a regular feature on the podcast I have where I have an anagram presented to me by the Anagram Hunter. And you can find him at Thomas_W_Hunter on Twitter. And for Ghost Rider, he has given us this lovely anagram, which may again tell us something about what we are about to watch. The anagram is dog shit.
What? Wait, how the dots count within the anagram?
I don't think they count. I think he's added in the ellipsis as like a kind of like dramatic effect, Bob. Like I mean, I don't think you get like it's if you read it, you might get Well, on that fucking shit show of a fucking ending, there's only one thing left to do, and that's to get raging with a cage. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That was for Bob. How was that for you?
I don't know. I think it is a piece of shit. I mean, let's not try to make it sound better than it is. I mean, overall, it doesn't work. It just doesn't fucking work at all.
Nothing about it works. I did not care for anyone. I did not. There was no jeopardy. There was no stakes.
No. Yeah.
So let's before we really pick this piece of shit apart, let's just give the listeners at home a nice little rundown of what happened. Just kind of the beats that
kind
of happened. So we open up to a voiceover of it's Sam Elliott, kind of telling the legend of the Ghost Rider hundreds of years ago in
with really fast superimposed sort of collage images of spirits projected into blood and stuff. I mean, really.
And it's what is it what's the place called? San.
I can't even remember.
I keep thinking San Dimas, but that's definitely where Bill and Ted live.
The Highschool.
Sam Bonanza or something like that. It's something. It's
Sam Bonanza. Yeah, that sounds about right.
And it's just this whole thing of there was a contract of all these 1,000 souls were locked in with the devil, and the Ghost Rider at the time ran away with the contract, and it's left open to
Uh,
a young man, a young man, and his dad. His dad's got cancer, and then he makes a deal with the devil that one day he'll become the Ghost Rider, and he will have to pay the penance of Satan. And things go wrong. His dad dies, and we flash to years later, and it's Cage. He's now
his dad dies because the devil presumably had something to do with him dying in a daredevil accident, right? Yeah, but yeah. Go on.
And then years later, it turns out to be Cage. He's a stunt rider, and then the devil essentially comes back to get him to pay his penance because his son has now risen from hell to wreak havoc and wants the
Blackheart.
Yeah, he wants the contract to essentially be the stepping stone for him to take over the world.
So that's what that was. I really wasn't aware that was why he wanted the contract until the very end, I think. And even then I was unsure, but go on.
Yeah, right, well, for how much, like, backstory and, like, how much stuff that goes, like, do you know what I mean? How much filler that goes on to get to where we need to be. Stuff is left hazy. And some stuff that doesn't need to be reiterated and rammed down your throat. Yeah, is reiterated and rammed down your throat. I felt. Like,
yeah, totally. It's like you said this earlier. I think it's a really important point, really, which is that it treats its audience like idiots. But I mean, but somehow, even though it tells you stuff again and again and again, I still didn't absorb what the fuck was actually going on.
Well, yeah, because it's missing out key points. At any possible moment, it will give you a flashback to something you've seen, but moments earlier of
and you've got that, but it shows you it again and again and again. It's like, why the fuck are you showing me this again?
I saw his
Needless.
dad. Yeah, I saw his dad die. Like, or I saw the fact that he was in love with like this girl. I do not need to see it again.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
He has to pay the contract back to the devil, go after Blackheart, and it is essentially him doing that. He is triumphant, set up for a sequel. That is it, really, for plot. And it took 2 hours to tell that plot, yet I managed to do it in 2 minutes. So let's really just have a deep dive into some scenes that really, really got under your skin and made you want to, like, Hulk out and turn into a flaming skull bob.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that it begins with literally a hot sauce font. The film itself, the credits, the opening credits are in a hot sauce font.
Yeah, because it's kind of got this weird thing of being, like... it's got really weird religious, like... It borrows stuff from, like, religion, stuff like that, but then also it's got, like, a Wild West theme to it.
Yeah, kind of cowboy, American, Western thing, like... But it's also got some kind of, sort of, like, tacky goth shop kind of architectural vibe to it.
Yeah, like a Hot Topic. You know, like...
But it's not quite cool enough. It's sort of like, even a self-respecting goth would think this was lame. Like, that's the other thing. I mean, it's the kind of stuff that the kind of alright goth, his dad, he likes this kind of shit. You know what I mean?
This film is the living embodiment of a flame shirt.
Yeah.
And, like, especially that title sequence, which kind of, like, had, like, a POV, like, kind of... It also reminded me of, like, what, like... a Hot Wheels advert would have been like in the 90s with the really, do you know what I mean? Like, had the flames going down, and you could imagine at any moment like a little toy car coming into shot, like, Hot Wheels, get them now, get them whilst they're hot. I don't know if that was one of their slogans, but bloody should have been. But yeah, it's like let's go through, like, well, let's first start talking off about young Cage and young Eva Mendes.
Yeah. So, well, fucking Cage looks absolutely, shocking. There is literally no resemblance.
It is like we are meant to believe that this young man is supposed to play Nicolas Cage. He's supposed to grow into Nicolas Cage.
There was one moment where I felt it. There was one moment I just saw the side of it. It's actually when he's about to sign over the contract to the devil. There's a moment where he just gets up from the car that he's fixing, and I was like, for a second, I saw Cage, and I was like,
you mean in the dimly lit tent at night?
Yeah, exactly. Just for a second, I saw it in that dimly lit tent. But aside from that, he looks nothing like it. Eva Mendes, on the other hand, she looks fucking almost identical to a point.
The spitting image, the actors' names who play those is Matt Long played the young Johnny Blaze.
Matt Long.
And Raquel Alessi played the young Eva Mendes.
Well done, Raquel.
She was fantastic, and we are supposed to believe as well once they are fully once they are grown up that they are the same age. They were like 17, and I noticed I think when I watched this on Friday, my girlfriend Emma pointed this out that when they meet again, he doesn't actually say how long it's been. He's like, he just uses hyperbole. He's like, it's been like a 50,000 years.
I was going to ask that because I think it must have been 30 years, right? Because I think Cage is about 40.
Well,
in the film.
Now he is 54.
So in 2000 and when was this film made?
2007. So he would have been 42.
So 42. So if they were 17 when they started, from 17 to 42, how long is that? Fucking over 30 years.
Yeah.
So it's been over 30 years, and there's no mention of time.
Well, and we're supposed to believe as well that he is the same age as Eva Mendes. Eva Mendes is 11 years younger than him.
This is a classic thing. This reminds me of this happens a lot though in films where you got an older actor and a younger woman. They kind of don't make it the point of the fact of their age gap. It's just accepted that if you got Tom Cruise in a film now, the love interest is going to be in her early 20s.
Yeah.
And it's not even mentioned. It's not like it's a weird thing.
Yeah, but Tom Cruise isn't meant to be the same. Isn't cast as being the same.
But they
age
don't
as
mention it though. But they don't mention it. I think that's the thing. He never goes, "Hey, I'm 56," and then he gets with a young girl or whatever. That just doesn't. You know what I mean? I don't know.
But in this, I'm talking of the sheer fact that they are supposed to be the same. He looks like shit, and she is one of the most gorgeous women that has
Should I tell you why he looks like shit half the time though? That fucking haircut. I can't work it out. I can't work it out because Cage has had a lot of bad wigs over the years. I mean, we've seen, he's had just about every kind of wig a man can have, and literally this one I think is the worst wig. It looks like a sort of crazy. It looks like a mum's had to haphazardly cut someone's hair for an important football match. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's got a lot of texture. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of chipping in.
Why is that? It's not, first of all, it's not rockabilly. It's not that rock and roll motorcycle cowboy world that they're trying to depict to us. A cowboy wouldn't have a fucking haircut like that. No fucking way. So I don't even understand. It doesn't cue in. I think at the time someone went, okay, it's 2000 and, what is it? 2007. They went, 2007. What are the cool kids? What's their hair like now?
All I can possibly think though is possibly this is because they really stuck to it. Young Johnny Blaze has it, adult Johnny Blaze has it. Is this the haircut he had in the comic books? Obviously, I don't.
No way. No way. It would have just been a haircut. It would have just been a normal haircut. It's weirdly abnormal. It looks almost strange in how
you want to
a grown man would not have this haircut.
Something that is bizarre about it makes this far more bizarre than it already is.
All right, go on.
Nicolas Cage's hairpiece required 3 hours to apply every day.
Oh my fucking god. 3 wasted hours. 3 fucking wasted hours. I can't believe it. Why didn't they make a better fucking haircut wig? I don't understand.
And it just seems like the budget on this film was spent in all the wrong places.
Do you think what they did is they hired the young guy and they were like, right, we're going to use his real hair, and then they were like, right, we need to make a wig that makes it look like the young guy for Cage? I hope they didn't do it that way around because that's really confusing.
Unless they shot this in chronological order. Do you know what I mean? Something that's further baffling about this as well. It's set in Texas.
Is it? I thought Cage's accent was pretty good throughout, actually, whatever that accent is.
This film is set, in Texas. Was filmed in Melbourne, Australia.
Ah, nice. I knew you sort of mentioned it earlier, but I knew that it was filmed somewhere else, and it didn't feel like America. It never felt like that. So they must have just been thinking, hey, we got a load of desert, and they were thinking about that desert scene toward the end, and they thought, let's just fucking let's film in Melbourne, right? Or maybe it's just cheap tax exempt status.
I don't know about. I have no idea. Like,
because you never really see any shots of you see city shots from above, but everything's always like sets. And my lord, are these sets bad? These sets literally are some of the worst sets I've seen in an actual like proper motion picture. They literally you compared them to Crystal Maze,
or like a kind of like animatronic like Disneyland like do you know what I mean? Like these experience rides, like it's awful, like like an amusement ride or something. And one shot in it as well is him like going through the swamp on a motorbike, and it resembles that look of like, do you know what I mean?
The
like,
Haunted Mansion.
Yeah. Sat on the ride waiting for it to go round, and like the trees. Like you can smell the plastic like through the screen.
You know, it's weird. If only this sort of shit were deliberate. I kept thinking that when I was watching it. I was like, if they'd really tried, they were trying to make a fake goth cowboy skull movie thing. I was like, that would be kind of cool. But then I don't think they are. I think this is their most earnest attempt at making whatever the fuck this film is.
Well, yeah, it's that thing of like, I get that comic books are like exaggerated and like camp and a bit cheesy.
Yeah.
But this isn't like, I don't know, if it was overly stylized in that way, you would go, yeah. I get it, like you were saying, but it isn't. It's just kind of like some bits is super like realist, like, do you know what I mean? Like realism in like, obviously it's not because it's a man who fucking turns into a flaming skull, but
I wanted to talk about the realism in it because there's a weird vibe throughout it that it almost sometimes it feels like it's a satire of superhero films. Like there are points where he's trying to sterilize a needle by using his powers, but he can't quite get it right, so he's just flailing his fingers about. And then the cowboy guy's like, "Hey, you can't do that. You got to use it in boiling water or whatever." And there's a few moments where he's in the mirror and he's like doing this crazy, one of the best cage scenes in it, where he's like just like fluctuating his face, and he's got those abs, those fake abs.
Yeah, well, apparently this is something that even the director on the like commentary has disputed, like to this day, that like many people believe that is CGI, and he's like the director has even come out and said, no, it's not. But it wouldn't surprise me because it seems like they do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how long the shoot on this would have been, but they're spending 3 hours a day applying that fucking wig.
No. What I was going to say though about the realism was that aside from that like for instance, after the first time he becomes Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze becomes Ghost Rider, and he has this huge sort of showdown fight with all these spirits in this crazy like sort of garage train yard. Yeah. So afterwards, the next day, it's all about the cops getting there and trying to work out what the fuck has happened, because there's this huge explosion. Eva Mendes says she could smell sulfur there, and brimstone, and there's this weird like awkward reference to the Bible, but it's basically it's almost like a real life what would actually happen if Ghost Rider fucks shit up. The next day would be spent with people taking pictures and interviewing people, with a great little cameo from Rebel Wilson.
Yeah, who is
easily one of the best parts of the whole film, and maybe the best part.
Like her moment when she's being interviewed by Eva Mendes' character, Roxanne Wilson. Roxanne Simpson. She is fantastic. And I was just like, give me more Rebel Wilson, because it was like a breath of fresh air in this film. Like,
and she also earnestly sort of describes how ridiculous the whole scenario is. She's like, and he had like a skull with like flames and stuff like that. So it's trying to make it really like pointing out how stupid it is, which is weird because then it makes the film seem almost self-aware, which is so insane because it cannot be, because it's so shit.
No, like you're going back to like the thing of him like trying to use his powers to like sterilize the needle. I don't think that is them trying to like satirise.
You don't
the
think
comic
so?
book world. No, I think it is their attempt of a joke. Their attempt of humour is just like, and it falls really flat. Like, I found myself so many times in this, every time there was like a joke line or something like that, I could feel the eyes rolling into the back of my... I could physically feel my eyes.
But don't you think it's interesting that it spends as much time as it does on real human beings who are affected by Ghost Rider's shit? Like, even one of the cops says to him in the interrogation room, and later on they find Johnny Blaze, they blame him for the killings, and they blame him for the killings that Blackheart, the devil's son, has done. And they're like, look, this guy, he didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't a bad guy. He was one day away from retirement. You fucking dick, or whatever. Like, he didn't kill him, and he doesn't admit to it. But the point is that it's about like the repercussions of what these demons and superheroes wreak on this world, which I think is weirdly before its time. That there aren't that many films, superhero films, that even bother with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And actually, it's funny, we were talking about Iron Man earlier. It does kind of mention that later, like he's sort of paying, in a way, Iron Man pays penance for his own crimes earlier.
Yeah, well, I think like Marvel have really tackled that, like with like Civil War. That kind of whole story arc is about how the like superhero, like the destruction that is caused in like the films, that
crazy
preceded
fights
it.
and shit.
Yeah, like ruining cities. How that is affecting the world, and brought up later in like I think Spider-Man: Homecoming, where like there you actually see the cleanup crew who are like hired to like come in and make sure all these like do you know what I mean? All these destroyed cities are put back to how they were, and like
that's amazing.
Yeah. So like that.
But I think you got to get. I think we should give this film a little bit of credit just for bothering, because it didn't have to, and it does make a big deal of it.
But I feel like, at the same time, it spends maybe a little bit too much time on all the other guff instead of like what you're here to see. I had flashbacks to myself as like a teenage boy, just seeing them images of like a flaming skull riding a motorbike
with a
like,
chain round his fucking
leather jacket, and just being like, wow.
To be honest, there are about 3 scenes in this film where they do that, and they do it fucking right. The bit where he drives up the building on the motorcycle is great. I just think it's fucking brilliant.
But the thing that like the thing that gets me about it, it's like it almost feels like a computer game storyline in that each night he goes out, it's defeating,
different boss fight.
Yeah, he's defeating one of the ghouls that like
And what he does, he finds their Achilles heel as well, which is very similar to a boss fight. So, like, the wind guy goes, "You can't catch me, I'm the wind, Johnny Blaze." And then what he does is what does he do? He just puts down his chain, he makes his chain into fire, and then he whips up a fiery, like
you get whirlwind,
and then he kills him.
He sucks him into the like...
Yeah, and then the water guy's underwater, he boils him or something, or whatever the fuck happened to him. It's like finding the boss's Achilles heel, and he kills him every night.
Yeah, it's like that flashing, like when you see, like, I don't know, you see, like, the weak spot. It's always bulbous and red. And it's like, that's where I've got to shoot. And it's just, I don't know. I know a lot of, like, superhero films nowadays kind of, like, fall victim to the idea that they're just, like, massive battles in cities, and there's just, like, a kind of, like, hordes and hordes of, like, bad guys and just, like, being mowed down. Whereas this, I felt like the scale was very, very small and boring. Like, do you know what I mean? Not like, because it would have felt a bit better maybe if like the villains kind of like you got a bit more time with them and understood them a bit more, and like maybe there could have been an element of conflict in it. But it was just like, it
almost seems like at points it's flirting with the idea of actually being about morality. As soon as Ghost Rider discovers his powers, his penance stare, when he can actually look into the eyes of this junkie and force him to go through the pain that his victims, whatever, is he a drug dealer? He's a bad guy of some sort?
I think he's your common crook. He's a knife wielding menace.
Yeah. So, and he makes him feel the pain he feels, and then kills him. But we're not ever totally sure. His eyes go like a sort of funny red and black, and then he just sort of lays down for a bit.
But then he blinks.
Does he? I mean, it's just hard to say, isn't it? Really.
He blinks, so it's like, oh, is he dead? But then,
do you think because it was a 12A they couldn't show death or something weird like that?
No, because they show death. They even refer to what happens at the Hell's Angels lodge as a massacre.
Yeah.
And there's pretty like.
To be honest, I have a little something to say about that little bar scene there. I actually think that bar scene's all right. I think the scene where you first see the devil arrive, I mean, he's incredibly camp. He's really he's played by the same guy from American Beauty. He's that guy, and he plays almost exactly the same character as Blackheart in American Horror Story. They cast him as like this kind of devilish guy who comes once every Halloween in a top hat. He's got a face in the back of his head, and it's literally like he just delivers it almost the same way. He's just basically a camp white faced.
Wes Bentley is the actor's name.
Wes Bentley, and to be honest, I've given Wes Bentley a lot of chances now, but after reviewing his performance in Ghost Rider tonight, he is a shit actor. I think American Beauty is the only thing he's ever done right. I think that was the only one he was actually good in.
Well, I feel like you may let him off slightly from hearing this. According to a interview he gave in the New York Times in 2010, this movie was made during the middle of Wes Bentley's decade-long, extremely serious addiction to cocaine and heroin.
Oh my God.
He said in that interview he only accepted any movie roles during that time so he would have enough money to buy enough drugs.
Wow. Okay, I do feel a bit bad about that.
Well, but like, what a privileged position to be in the fact that like he can go, do you know what? I'm going to be in this multi-million-dollar Marvel film to fuel my addiction, whereas there are many other people who have resorted to far seedier things. I would rather play Blackheart than give a hand job in an alley.
To his credit, what I would say though is that I don't think like somebody else should have been cast. I think he does his job probably as good as he can do it. Really, his script is shit. I mean, the whole script of this film is literally written by a fucking cretin. It's only ever funny when it's unintentionally funny, and it's only ever smart. I mean, it's never smart. There really isn't anything about it that's smart at all. It's unbelievable to me that they managed to sort of. This is what I was going to say about the morality thing, about the penance there, is that they could go into this sort of inner turmoil of Ghost Rider, like finding people in the city and like looking through their memories, and we could see these things or something like that, or we could decide like, who is truly evil, who is good, who is bad. We could play with all this, but it never bothers. It just isn't interested. The only reason for the penance there is to show a fiery CGI screensaver of sort of people's faces of different ethnicities sort of blowing through a fiery wind. I mean, it really is just that. It's just totally bizarre.
Like, I don't know, back to like the Wes Bentley thing. One thing that, like, again, he's got nothing to work with, but what he does say is ruined because this film has a crutch on voices and after effects on those voices that is just like, it's like nails down a chalkboard for me. Like every voice has like a kind of
like a double thing,
higher register, like very very like on the nose, trying to make it sound demonic, but just as irritating. It's like, and he looks well, like the look he's got, he genuinely looks like he's just got like some white face paint on, and that's really it. And it's just a bit like,
it's a shame as well because the devil, I think,
Poundland Halloween, isn't it?
It is Poundland Halloween. I think the devil, his father, is Peter Fonda.
Yeah,
I think brilliantly played by Peter Fonda. And there's such a great scene in the beginning where the devil first gets Johnny Blaze to sign the contract, and as you pointed out to me, that you can see when the lightning flashes, you see this kind of Krampus-like silhouette behind his back of like a shriveled devil. And he really does do a really good job of it. I mean, he's not given a lot to play with here. The script's pretty dodgy, but he delivers his lines with a kind of an authenticity and also a sort of a foreboding quality that I think almost no actor could really bring to such a campy, dodgy role.
And like, he looks great as well. He's kind of got this coiffed, like kind of like Francis Ford Coppola's like Dracula, like the Gary Oldman character.
And ostensibly, it seems like the only reason they hired him was because he was an Easy Rider with Dennis Hopper, and they're making a reference to the motorcycle, so that's why they've got him. But if that was the only reason, they totally lucked out because he's totally brilliant and perhaps the best role in the whole film. But then toward the end of the movie, and with all his interactions with his son, with Blackheart, he's just shit. They really don't know what to do with the devil character anymore. Like, the concept of Ghost Rider being a bounty hunter for the devil is a great idea, but the way that they deal with it is stupid.
Well, it's that thing as well, like the stakes, like how do you go out of the gate? Like, this is supposed to be the first, I imagine, in what they thought would have been a franchise that would have, like, do you know what I mean? Like, could have I don't know, carried on for however long, and like straight out of the gate, like it's established that the bad guy is the fucking devil, like the evil of all evils. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know the plot of the second one, but like,
I can't remember.
Who's it going to be? The devil's other son? The devil's daughter?
Yeah, I don't know actually. But Devil's Daughter sounds credible.
Devil's Daughter, that sounds like a great track. That's got to be a 70s, do you know what I mean? That's got to be like
Even that opening, I'm just
a Black Sabbath song.
It sounds like, yeah,
In bed with the Devil's Daughter.
But even when they introduced the devil and all the light bulbs were exploding, I was like, wow. I mean, they were actually, you know, it's like I was saying about that up the building moment. I know you're saying it's a bit video gamey, but there's a few moments in it where things felt really cool. Exploding light bulbs as the devil walks past. Ghost Rider on fire with a whip, like a chain round his leather jacket, like sailing up a building. There were these kind of triumphant wow moments, and all I couldn't help but think was, why isn't this just a film of those fucking things?
Yeah.
And I've actually heard later on, actually a year later when they made Iron Man, one of the people involved in the making of it, like a big, I don't know what you'd call her, what her position was exactly, but she was saying that what she wanted was, after they had an AC/DC moment in it, where as he walks away from like a tank, it blows up and it's like da-na-na, you know, it's the AC/DC moment. So when she made Avengers later, she was like, what I want to do is I want to compile, I want to make a series of AC/DC moments, as many as we can get in to one film. And that's what's going to be successful. And I kind of, you know, that's obviously a shitty way to make something that's like of any sort of actual spiritual worth, but it does make sense in terms of these kind of movies. And I feel like this doesn't have enough AC/DC moments. It doesn't have enough Black Sabbath scenarios. There's just a few bits, and it takes fucking 40 minutes before it gets to the actual Ghost Rider transformation, and that's insane.
Yeah, well, like, the thing is, like, it just reminded me, I think I said to you as well, I was just trying to wrap my brains of, like, other origin stories that take so long for you to see, like, the titular character in their garb. Like, the only other one I could think of is maybe Batman Begins, but you allow that film to do what it wants because it's a compelling and interesting story. Like, I believe it's only in like the last half hour of that film possibly you actually see like Batman. It's Bruce Wayne up until then, but you care about the character. I did not care about this character. I felt like, as you said about the action set pieces and like seeing Ghost Rider, it didn't seem like it even had enough to fill a trailer. Let alone a feature film.
No, I completely agree with you. I thought another strange thing, which is kind of unusual, is a lot of superhero films, and just films of this kind of like blockbuster or in general, they seem to care a lot more about their main character, about who he is, like to show that he's you know, he has his own, you know, other. I mean, the only thing we really know about Johnny Blaze is that his dad died. That's it. That's all we know. We don't really know what his personality's like. He eats jelly beans. He's a daredevil, and his dad died.
And he likes the Carpenters.
And he's like, yeah, I mean, it just.
And they just feel like weird, like quirky quote to try and like beef out the character to make him like somehow relatable.
If anything, they actually try to portray him to be a hick, like he's stupid, like he's a kind of redneck. Like there's a bit where he's like, "Do you want to go out for some Italian?" and stuff like that. Like he can't, like it's these weird bits. Like they're trying to make him seem dim. And I think that's a peculiar thing to do in a movie, unless there's like he gets smarter when he becomes Ghost Rider or something. But that's not what they're saying. They're just saying he's a fucking idiot, like, which is a weird thing to say. He's even an idiot because he kind of sold his soul in a way. Why do they hate their main character so much? Is what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's the thing as well. Like
he only likes watching monkey videos.
And when he turns into Ghost Rider as well, it's not like he then becomes likeable. If anything, possibly becomes even more unlikable because he himself is a morally ambiguous character.
Yeah.
Because he is kind of like, he's on the wrong side of the law, like he's, do you know what I mean? He kind of, and I don't get this, like, I don't get the like motivations of the character, because he only changes into the Ghost Rider when he is around evil, yet he is created by the devil, who would surely want to use him for his own ends, and his battle is against good.
It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up at all. Can I also, just to cut madly into what we're talking about, just talk about the moment that him and Eva Mendes kiss for the first time, and suddenly cows start mooing while they're kissing? I mean, is this an example of just a film where the writer was just like, "Pff," and then some cows start mooing. Like, what's the meaning of that?
Well, the writer of this happens to be the director as well.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Who had directed the 2003 Daredevil film as well. So
yeah. Well,
a man.
I think this is someone who doesn't like comic books. That's the first thing I'd say. I don't think that they're interested in comic books very much. Sorry. I think really what they want to do is they want to make something that's sort of sensational, but they're not actually interested in fucking stories or any of the things that these comics sort of set out to achieve.
If you want to look for a name to put that blame upon, that is a Mark Steven Johnson.
Mark Steven Johnson, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, he's like... fool me once with Daredevil, shame on you. Fool me twice with Ghost Rider, shame on me. Shame on both of us, Bob.
Shame on us. I mean, also one thing I'd like to bring out as well is there's a lot of pointing in Nicolas Cage films. Everything from there's a lot of pointing in Vampire's Kiss. There's a lot of straight. He sort of extends his finger and he's pointing at the secretary. There's a lot of pointing in Wild at Heart, where he's like pointing at the for the band to put on the correct song, or pointing at a guy he's about to beat up. In this film, there's also a lot of pointing, and so much of a point do they make of this pointing that at the beginning of the movie they get the young Nicolas Cage to point at the devil in such a way, and then later on Nicolas Cage then starts pointing at everyone again. And I wonder whether they saw other Cage films, they were like, we need to get this pointing shit in, this is great.
Or is it something he brings to the table?
Yeah, or is it that later on in the film, if they shot the younger Cage stuff later, that maybe they were like, Cage points so much, we should get the younger one to point and it will all connect? Or your theories?
I got nothing. This film, I think watching this film twice in 3 days is probably not a good move. Here is a little point that you may not have known, Bob. Mm-hmm. Whilst filming this film, they had to use a considerable amount of makeup to actually cover a tattoo that Nicolas Cage has of Ghost Rider.
Wow, that's mind blowing.
Like.
That is fucking mind blowing.
And he petitioned and really got behind and persisted for him to actually play this character.
Wow.
So for him, this must have been a dream come true, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. This was something he always wanted to do.
Which is crazy. I would love to actually know his thoughts on this film. From what I know with the little I know about the sequel, is possibly my theory is he wasn't happy with how this film turned out.
Right. Well, that's the sequel, or
no, this film. How Ghost Rider turned out. So
the sequel was a way of amending it,
and kind of do you know what I mean? Getting people on board who really wanted to get to the gonzo heart of of Ghost Rider. The
that's
thing,
a beautiful way of putting it.
The thing that put the fire in Cage's eyes when he first fell in love with the character, so much so that inspired him to go down to his local tattoo parlour and forever ink that fiery skull upon his back.
That's fantastic.
That is crazy.
It's so crazy, man.
One of the things you had touched upon as well is the script of this, Bob, and something that may tickle your fancy is that Nicolas Cage himself actually wrote sections of this script.
Whoa, which sections?
Hopefully the good ones. Just for our own peace of mind and sanity.
Why did they let him? Are they just letting him do that as a nice gesture, or is that they're like, we generally don't know what to do, and they're like, Cage, can you write?
Well, I imagine a man who's got a tattoo,
yeah, they're like, you know your shit, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be an authority of somewhat.
I bet it was a Spirit of Vengeance bit at the end.
I'd hope so.
That sounds like a Cage thing. He's the Spirit of Vengeance. I can imagine him really getting into it.
Or I'd love to think that the stuff he wrote was in the transformation scene where he's going,
yeah, I love that scene, to be honest, as well. Yeah, that was a great scene.
At any moment throughout that, though, I expected him to go into not the bees, not the bees. Like it was.
Whoa, that fucking Wicker Man reference in it. Was that stealth Wicker Man reference? Basically, in the interrogation room, the two cops are interrogating him, and he's like saying, like, after this interrogation, I plan to become a motorcycle policeman.
Yeah,
I was like, what?
Is this film just a prequel to the 2006 Wicker Man?
It seems weirdly weirdly it comes out of nowhere that he says that line as well.
Well, when talking about references, there is a few films I feel like this references in different ways. There is a moment at the end which references like kind of Sergio Leone, like Good, the Bad, the Ugly, like
by zooming in on their eyes really quickly.
In the dreadful Western setting they have, like
fuck
this paper mache
Western.
It just looks like I don't know, like
a children's TV like puzzle show,
like thrown together.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Or like
quickly haphazardly
they were moving
painted.
a couple of sets around and like just put that there. We'll just go with it. Another moment like they reference something that is great as well is when he is going to do a jump across a full-length American football field over a fleet of helicopters. As the helicopters descend into the arena, Flight of the Valkyries is playing. How could you do this, Cage?
I know.
How could you do this to like that good film and your good family name?
I mean, it just is. I don't know. It's just bullshit. I can't even say anything more about that scene, really. I mean, it's a way of showing how much money they have to spend on this sort of like auditorium and all these like. But half of it's CGI anyway. I don't even know what's real. None of it seems to really count.
Well, there's so many moments in this.
Man, I fucking hate that guy who's like supposed to be Nicolas Cage's like right hand man who runs the Daredevil stuff. Oh man, is he a boring character?
Donal Logue is the character. Yeah, I think he's cropped up in like Sons of Anarchy recently. He was in a TV show called Grounded for Life, which is teeth gratingly bad.
It's almost like the only point of his character within Ghost Rider is to put Cage down, which he does a lot. He does it a lot at the beginning, and he gives him a really hard time after he's done a stunt. Which, you know, it doesn't. I mean, there's no way to even gloat in the glory of whatever this Daredevil's act is supposed to have done when there's literally a character putting him down right there. He's just making everything feel like, and then he doesn't really know that Ghost Rider exists, so he's not like in Deadpool where you've got like, you know, he's got a mate that knows he's Deadpool and they kind of, you know, it's not even like that. He's just a guy that's around to be fucking annoying, like and be like, oh, I don't drink jelly beans like you, Cage.
You're weird.
Yeah, you're weird. Like, what is the use of this character? He literally has no purpose. He doesn't do anything in the film that changes anything. He's not pivotal. He's just like weird set dressing that makes you feel uncomfortable. Fantastic.
I feel like in better hands, he would have acted as like the voice of the audience.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of the like he at moments he touches upon like questions you're asking yourself, like, oh, how comes all of these like jumps you've been doing, like you have scrapes, like you should be resting up right now.
Yeah.
But then like just totally diminishes it by being a total fucking prick.
Yeah.
Like I just don't.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. Doesn't make
like,
sense at all.
One of the moments, like when they're talking, and many moments in this film, it looks like they are 100% stood in front of green screen.
I don't know why, because I don't actually think they are. I think sometimes I mean, I know nothing about lighting or anything like that, but I think sometimes maybe if lighting is super bright and you've got a really colourful backdrop, it immediately looks like it's a green screen backdrop when it's not. But I know exactly what you mean. But sometimes they were, and I think sometimes they weren't. But like, yeah, it's weird. It just makes everything feel prosthetic and phony.
Yeah, it just takes you out of it. Like,
yeah.
And the digital effects in this for 2007, I've definitely seen film like one of the films I can think about. I'm pretty sure like The Mummy came out of like the turn of the century, yeah, and was like fucking groundbreaking in comparison to this.
One thing I was going to say about talking about special effects is that throughout the film, Ghost Rider. I mean, Ghost Rider's basically he's got 3 powers, right? I mean, we should talk about this actually. I think his first power is, of course, the ability to turn into a skull with fire on it. I mean, that's a power, I suppose. It's a transformation. Second power is the penance stare, so he can look into someone, see through all their sins, and force them to go through the pain that they've dealt upon other people. And the third ability is to be able to change objects in his hand into a Ghost Rider version of that object. Is that correct? So he can say, he takes a shotgun. He can change a shotgun into a sort of flame gun that looks a bit bony. He literally changes his motorcycle into a sort of skeletal hand creature, crazy 1990s goth poster.
Like a ram. Do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like a H.R. Geiger like design thing, but most specifically Jonathan Davis from Korn's mic stand. You know that grotesque like naked woman mic stand he's got that just every time I see it just makes me want to be sick. I love H.R. Geiger. I love all the design on Alien and stuff like that, and all the design he did for that whole world, and his paintings are fucking crazy and his sculptures. But there's something about Jonathan Davis. Maybe it's Jonathan Davis himself as well. That dirty freak on a leash. That just that mic stand just makes my skin crawl.
But I mean, so literally at one point he's wearing the leather jacket and Spike's just. What he's done is he goes into he's in jail,
like a holding.
He's in a holding cell. Yeah, all those criminals. I kind of pointed it out during the film, but they all look cleaner than me. They all look more brushed up and sort of like healthy, full-blooded. I mean, they almost made me feel jealous of their good health. None of them look like actual criminals in any scenario, and they all, for some reason, start taking a dislike to Johnny Blaze, jump on him, and start sort of beating the fuck out of him. It's really confusing, and there's no given reason for it.
But I think one of them gives like a really poor thing. He's like, I came to watch you once to watch you splat, and you didn't. He's like,
what do you mean? Well, now we're gonna hurt our knuckles by beating you up. Like, it doesn't make sense. But anyway, so then he Ghost Rider. He turns into Ghost Rider, and he obviously, but he likes one guy's wearing a leather jacket, and he goes, "Nice jacket." And then puts on his leather jacket, and as he does, he then looks at each shoulder, and as he looks at each shoulder, 3 spikes come out of each shoulder.
I like to think that like Ghost Rider is a fantastic seamstress.
Yeah.
At the same time, I just got this image of like this flaming
the Phantom
skull.
Thread.
Yeah, like just really getting down to it. Like, he loves to accessorise. There's something about him as well that's very leather daddy. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, it seems like it's got like, I don't know, a weird like homoerotic undertones. Like, it's kind of got this thing like, especially like the whole like context of like fathers and stuff like that. And
there's a lot of fathers and sons, and
and there could be an argument that like, I don't know, like the daddy issue, looking for it, and he's got this very like camp, like, do you know what I mean, like leather daddy like exterior. I don't know if there is probably some very weird fan fiction of Ghost Rider out there, which I do not want to
chains.
I do not want to dive into the depths of the internet. Not tonight, at least.
But what I was going to say is the only other film I can think of where a character, also based on a comic, by the way, but where a character can make clothes out of their imagination, where they can transform things, is The Mask. And there's a weird connection almost because of that between this film and The Mask. They're like both superheroes. They're both based on comics, where by taking on this new form, they can then sort of create matter where it doesn't exist and sort of transform things. And it just seemed interesting to me that was, I don't know. There's something weird about that. That he can just craft anything, but why does he have this aesthetic? Why is it that Johnny Blaze has this in his mind that like this is cool having spikes on a jacket, but in his normal every day-to-day life he doesn't dress like that? Why does a Ghost Rider have an aesthetic? Why does he have an interest in spikes and bondage and leather or whatever the fuck?
I have no idea. You would have thought, if anything, like he would have been drawn. I don't know. Is it like the bad boy of their time, like because the previous like Ghost Rider was a cowboy, so it
Right.
makes sense. Well, he just looks like a cowboy.
Yeah,
and
of course,
his
yeah.
like his horse looks mechanical. That is the only difference. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know why he kind of adopts this like, because he is predominantly a stunt bike rider as well. So like, not like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah, he's not like a rock and roller guy.
No,
So
he's
it
not
wouldn't-
like a Hell's Angel or anything like
Yeah,
that.
in fact, it seems like the
He's
Hell's
a
Angel.
polar,
Yeah.
polar opposite.
Yeah,
he's,
yeah.
He's very much like motocross bike, like
Yeah, so surely his kind of
Like
alter ego or his alter ego should be some sort of bizarre motocross, crazy, colourful. I mean, I don't know, but honestly, I have no fucking clue.
I don't know. And like, let's talk about as well the Sam Elliott character, who is essentially like exposition central, like as if we haven't got enough exposition like throughout the film, and like stuff we already know.
yeah.
He is here to say it again, just in case like you didn't hear it there at the back. Here's Sam Elliott to tell you again, just for the benefit of telling Johnny Blaze as well.
And telling it in that American Southern drawl thing that he does, basically, that's it. Yeah.
And it is a thing as well. It is screamingly obvious as soon as you like are introduced to the Sam Elliott character. Well, like Johnny Blazes, he was the previous like, Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Because he knows everything about it. Yet Johnny Blaze is just kind of like.
In fact, Johnny Blaze, not only does he not seem to be aware that he was the previous Ghost Rider, but also Johnny Blaze literally wakes up in his church, like in the middle of the morning. It's given no reason. It's like he's had a bad hangover after his first transformation, I believe, into Ghost Rider. But he doesn't go, "How the fuck do you find me?" Does he? Does he even ask, like, "How did I get here?"
No, the bike seems to take him there like of its own volition.
Right,
And like,
to the
well, like,
previous, yeah. The
Yeah, because
previous
he goes
Ghost
to
Rider.
his dad's grave, and then he's there to like pick up the pieces, take him in, and tell him everything. Like, do you know, he's like got the book on. So this guy's this guy, like Blackheart, like the devil, and then like these kind of weird, freakish, elemental like spirits, and like knows all the lore of the like Ghost Rider. Looks like he has just walked off the set of fucking like Once Upon a Time in the West.
Yeah, I think it's so funny that when these powerful spirits finally find the cemetery and they finally come upon the old Ghost Rider, who must presumably have been a thorn in their side for some time. I mean, I don't know how old the Devil's Son's supposed to be. I assume not just 20. I assume more like 2000 or something like that. He's supposed to be really old, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I have no fucking clue. But these elemental spirits, they finally find the old Ghost Rider, and what do? They kick him in the face once, and then they leave. I mean, what the fuck? Surely they would have just killed him. Surely they would have just destroyed him there and then.
And they really set up as well.
And also, around evil, you turn into the Ghost Rider, do you not? Why didn't he fucking turn into the Ghost Rider there and then? Sorry.
The only thing I can think is maybe he has managed to like through all these
Suppress
years of
it.
abstinence, just managed to like maybe he is supposed to resemble some type of like some further. We're probably reading into this a bit too much.
I think
but
too much.
He's a further representation of a religious like he is.
Oh
like
yeah,
a
he talks about
priestly
God a
form.
lot. He talks about God a lot, yeah.
Yeah, like at
It's,
one.
it's weird how preachy this film is, really. But go on, yeah. What are you going to say?
Yeah, at one point he talks about how like Johnny Blaze sold his soul for all the right reasons, and like maybe that's because like he did it for love and stuff like that, and he's unpredictable, and that must mean that he might have God on his side. And it's like, what is
Going
does
on
that
here?
really mean?
From the get go, from the moment that they put out the idea that like literally like they show Johnny Blaze's dad is coughing, and then after a coughing fit he takes a cigarette and puts it in his mouth. I was like, this film is fucking preaching. It is literally preaching. It's going, this is bad, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad, and I immediately was like annoyed by it. And when they started mentioning the God stuff, I was like, I think it's actually not on purpose. I think it's a bad writer trying his best to sort of make good evil and like daredevil decisions like in like black and white. Like he's a daredevil, so he smokes, yeah, because he thinks he could die any day, right? That's why he smokes. It's not just that he's a dick or whatever. It's that any day he could die. That's the concept. That's why it's a bad call.
And it's really to signpost that he has got cancer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like really like there is a letter that Johnny Blaze reads that his father has like not screwed up in any way, just kind of like still the full letter, just placed.
It's weird, like folded like a shit origami bird into the bin.
Just like lovely, like just kind of placed into the bin, facing up, and like it zooms in, and all it says is the cancer has spread.
Yeah,
that's it. Like you don't need to know anything else to that letter. It's like they're like only giving you the words that they want you to know.
Did you notice that even Mendes wears a crucifix throughout the whole film as well? I mean, it's just stuff like this, man, where it's like, I don't know, it's really, it just, that sort of thing really annoys me. If you're going to go to town with subjects like this, why don't you fucking go to town about it? It makes me think Constantine's so cool, because it actually does go to town with that kind of stuff. You meet the devil, but you know about God, and you know that there's this kind of overarching thing. They could have talked about things like that. Yeah. But go on.
I've got a little theory of why you noticed that Eva Mendes had a crucifix on the whole time, because throughout this film, like... I'm not complaining about this, and I'm not like sort of her, but like
I know what you're gonna
the
say.
way she is dressed is like boobs out constantly
all the time,
and it's like we get it, like we get it. She's an attractive woman, but come on, guys, like
they literally can't help themselves. Yeah,
no, like even though there's some weird moments with her as well,
Yeah.
like the fact that. When she's waiting for like Johnny Blaze on their first, like on a date that they're gonna go on, she pulls out a lucky 8-ball from her like handbag to just do it in a fancy run. Who's carrying around that? Like,
it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's also, I think, the thing to remember here as well for any listeners who aren't immediately in front of a magic 8-ball is just how big it is. It's fucking massive. It would take up almost an entire purse. A handbag. There's certainly a large compartment of a backpack. I mean, we're talking. This is a big object that you don't really want knocking about, carrying around. It's cumbersome. That's what it is. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Basically, I think all you can draw from that is that she's either A, sort of mental, she carries that around, or B, she's so horribly damaged by Johnny Blaze leaving her earlier that she has to constantly take a lucky 8-ball around with her, a magic 8-ball.
Or in the words of Stevie Wonder, she's very superstitious.
But it's like I was saying, like there's a scene where she's with Johnny Blaze, and she's saying like tell me why you didn't make it to the date, tell me why you left me. And Johnny Blaze says, look, at midnight I turn into a skull with fire, and I go around like making the sinners feel their sin or whatever. And she goes like, well, I'm left with one of two choices or whatever, which is first of all, I can believe that you really believe this, and I'll take you to the asylum right now. I'll section you, Johnny, or I accept the idea that you've just made this ridiculous lie up to hurt me, and I'll never see you again. And basically she opts for the second part, and just to never see him again, and believes it's ridiculous. If only it had been the first part.
Yeah, I saw your eyes light up at the possibility that could happen. That this film would take a real like sharp left turn and turn into like a kind of like character study of a man who has this affliction yet is around no evil, or like is kind of like in this brightly lit like fluorescent windowless cell, so wouldn't turn into like the thing, and this kind of like study of this man as he kind of like
sounds great.
If this film had ended with him just opening his eyes in an asylum,
what?
Maybe would have fucking changed the whole fucking game.
Yeah. It's almost, I do think though. Okay, so we're agreed that this is a bad film.
Oh, it's terrible.
But I do think that there's something about its concepts which work. I think there's a sort of irrelevant anarchy about the way that when the movie's at its best with Ghost Rider in it, just like fucking about, doing even fighting and just whatever, generally transforming and all this kind of stuff, and riding around his motorbike up buildings. There's a real feeling of like madness to it that I kind of really like. And also I think that this whole idea of these two cops, who are the ones who interrogate him, sort of going around trying to work out like, how is this even possible? How is it possible that someone can do all this and they're killing all these people, and what's happening? And they're trying to pick up the pieces. I think all of that works really well, but everything else, which makes up 98% of the movie, is shit.
Well, like, the thing is, like on that point, it just feels like it's different films. Like like car crash together. It's like a like. Do you know what I mean? It's like a pile up at a crossroads, because you kind of have like elements like at the beginning of like a kind of like saccharine sweet like Nicholas Sparks novel of this kind of like hometown sweet country like couple, mixed with this almost like the storyline of the two cops almost sounds like an amazing like Netflix series or something.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
like do you know what I mean? Or like some kind of like Marvel like take on like True Detective or something like that. Like these kind of guys who are investigating like on the peripheries before the like the superheroes are like known to the world, of just trying to figure out like all these weird goings on, like I don't know, finding this like plasma goo and like not knowing what's going.
that's fucking exciting.
That's great. And then you've got that crazy fight. Like that's what I feel like, because I know who directed the second one. I'm hoping it's just balls to the wall of the anarchy and fucking like craziness, and I feel like that's what we might get.
I hope so.
So let's look at how this film scored.
Let's have a look
Online. How do you reckon it's going to be? Are the internet going to be wise people and have agreed with us, or are they going to be like Luddites who think that it's some type of work of genius?
I think they're going to think it was a real fucking piece of shit. Is it out of 100 on Rotten Tomatoes? Is that right?
Well, I've got 3 scores in front of me. I always go for the tops, like the 3 scores that Google gives me on any given day when I do one of these.
I think Rotten Tomatoes, I would say something like 5%. You do that?
Rotten Tomatoes 26%.
Ooh, wow.
That's not good though.
But people liked it more. People did like it. 26%.
Yeah, but like that is not a good, especially in this day and age. That is not a good score.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Metacritic 35%.
Okay, is that a bit better?
And IMDb 5.2 out of 10.
Whoa, that's heavy for IMDb. That's half. That's kind of approaching an all right film.
Yeah, there are worse films that have scored. There are better films that have scored worse, in my opinion. The only thing I can kind of say about these scores is the ones that are higher are wrong.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I can think is that, like, looking at this film in its like context, I feel like nowadays we are like so spoiled in the kind of plethora of like superhero like
Very
cinema
true,
we
very
have.
true. There's so much, yeah.
So
there's
much, and like varying in quality and stuff like that. But a lot of them feel like they are, like often have something to say that is beyond just like what is on the page of the comic book. It may have like a social message, or like kind of like
spiritual one.
Picture. Yeah.
What comes with great power, whatever power comes with great responsibility. But I think this film it looks like too many fucking chefs in the kitchen. It looks like loads of different people wanted different things for it, and it couldn't achieve any of its ends as a result.
It was definitely a camel when it should have been a horse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. But
it feels like there was only like
strong as a horse, healthy as a horse.
Healthy as a horse. Fucking hell. If we go by what we have read, though, that there's only 2 cooks who were stirring this broth.
That's
and
insane.
That was the director who, I've forgotten his name already, and I'm good. I'm glad I've forgotten it, because he does not deserve
fucking hit
space in my
brain.
brain.
So it's this and Daredevil.
He's got eight directing credits, and they were the only 2.
Man, he literally, I can't believe this guy should go and fuck himself. That is so shit. Daredevil was so bad, and this film is so bad as well. It's really, he's just doing damage for no reason. He's like a guy who comes to your garden and just starts cutting down all your hedges for no reason. You wake up and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
He's literally that. I mean, just leave the hedges alone, mate.
It's not even like you can kind of understand if there's like a human-sized print in a bush. You go, oh, someone got pushed through. That was probably a laugh to the. Do you know what I mean? The majority of the gang got a laugh because one guy got pushed through a hedge, but the whole hedge gone in the morning. That's just malicious. That's just vindictive.
And by the sound of it, if Cage didn't even like it, if even Cage wasn't happy with it, then he really failed. Because if you can't make fucking Cage, who's got a fucking Johnny Blaze tattoo on his arm, he's got a fucking Ghost Rider tattoo on his arm. If you can't make him happy, the guy who petitioned to get himself in that role, then you've just completely wasted every fucking little opportunity you had.
I must reiterate that was like a theory of mine. That is not
right.
anything
Okay.
I've read.
Okay. All right.
So, but like, I have a sneaking suspicion that might be the case because, like, do you know what I mean? Like the sequel seems like tonally it is totally different. And doesn't seem like it is just some type of weird cash grab. Maybe just like going for the initial tone they originally wanted to create.
What saddens me so much, if you want to set up a franchise, if you want to start like a series of films, it's not. You shouldn't just be trying to get the backstory out of the way, get the origin out of the way, which is they often do. Which is why people get so pissed off with like Spider-Man films because they're always retelling the origin and stuff like that. Which is I think is something that people say that Homecoming doesn't do. Right, it deliberately doesn't do that. But like a lot of these superhero films are just when they assume there's going to be a sequel, they act like the first one isn't the point. And that's so fucking sad. It's why Batman Begins is so fucking good, because it independently functions as a really good film, even without, The Dark Knight.
But like you saying like about the origin story, and like what a lot of these films fall victim to is the fact that the origins are very similar in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Like,
ironically, this one's a bit different. Actually, there is something that is quite different about the idea
added
of selling your soul to the devil. Is kind of
but that added spice, like. Take that away, it is essentially the father was killed, I must avenge.
Very true. Very true.
It is the looking for the kid, like, because as he even says at the end of this film, I will not like take my soul back. I will keep this, and every time you spill blood, that will be the blood of my father's. That is the same as Bruce Wayne not knowing the killer of his parents.
Yeah.
Going out and being a vigilante, looking for and like seeing the face of his parents' killer in any of these bad guys in Gotham City.
That's very true. Yeah. That's
so
a very good point.
Boiling it down, it's still it's a classic trope.
No, you're right. I suppose, but this is another good example of how Eva Mendes, as I said earlier, she mentions about brimstone and, read the Bible or whatever. She says something real sassy to the cop to indicate that he should remember the Bible or something. But really, this film had the entire Bible to play with. It had God and the devil. It had, everything from the Nephilim, briefly mentioned when they flip open the book, of the giants, or the angels that slept with human beings and stuff. It had everything it possibly could. It could have literally taken anything from Abrahamic religion, from monotheism and anything, but instead it chooses just to have an emo devil and an emo devil's son, sort of meta devil, a sort of beta devil or whatever, and then the actual devil just cameo appearance in it, and that's all you got. Yeah. And they do with the flaming skull. I mean, it could fucking do anything. It's so sad. It actually made me rethink Constantine. While I was watching it, I was thinking Constantine is a better film than I gave it credit for.
And something I always say on here is that, like, if a film is making you think of any other film, that film is failing.
Yeah.
So, one question before I let you leave, Bob,
okay,
is what is the lowest thing you would sell your soul for to the devil? So, like, not monetary value.
I was thinking monetary value. Oh,
it could be
you actually mean an
value.
object,
or like a service that you would like sell your soul for. So, say it be like you will not cook. You will have dinners just there for the rest of your life.
An infinite supply of,
But with the dinners, there would be like how the devil gives Johnny Blaze his father's health back. He also then just kills him. So you would be able to have any dinner of your choice. Like, you'd have dinners forever, but you would not choose the sauce that it comes with, like, on top of the dinner. So you maybe all like. Do you know what I mean?
The devil's always got like a say.
The devil's always got a finger in your pie.
I mean, I don't know. I was thinking, but when you asked the question before, I thought you meant just monetary.
And
I was going to say 10 grand flat out. Like, that is the lowest I'd go for the soul. I think 10 grand. I mean, it sounds like not very much, but it says you can do a lot with 10 grand if you want to. You know what I mean? Like, if you think about it. And also, like, Johnny Blaze, if we're confused about the ages here, about like how long was it 20 years, was it 30 years since him and Ava like met up? But I think the devil gave him at least 30 years there. And if I had 30 years, I mean, I should really be asking for more than 10 grand, really. But let's just say it's 10 grand. That is the lowest amount. You know, but what I was going to say was, when I was a kid, I actually dealt in the soul selling trade, because in my school. Basically, children would sell their souls to each other for ink cartridges, and I used to have a plastic volcano in my room. It was a Mighty Max volcano. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these plastic things.
Amazing.
And I used to keep children's souls in my plastic volcano that I pay for in ink cartridges. So that's sort of my answer, really. But 10 grand, basically.
Wow, you like that's occasion first. We have the devil himself on the show, guys. And with that, I'm gonna ask you just one final thing, Bob. Mm-hmm. Where can people like keep up to date with Tonight with Bob and Joe?
I think it's on Acast. I think if you go, if you search Tonight with Bob and Joe, Acast.
Google.
We've got a Facebook as well. I think it's Tonight with Podcast. Just try to Google it as much as you can with your fingers.
Nice. Nice. Well, so I'm going to say this at the end, guys. I don't think I've said this a while on the podcast. Please rate, review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and iTunes and all that. And like, I don't know, just get in touch as well. I'd love to have a chat. I'm sure Bob will love to have a chat. Anything you say, I'll
certainly
forward
will
on your messages. Or like, yeah. And that's easy to get in touch with the show. It's just at Caged In Pod on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and it's cagedinpod@gmail.com for the email address, and you can always go through the website, which is www.cagedinpodcast.com. So as always, I've been Petrus Patsilivus.
I've been Bob.
We've been Caged In. You've been lovely. Bye.